Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari and today we'll be answering a question. What is a sannyasi? You hear the term sannyasi. What is a sannyasi? But we'll be seeing what a sannyasi is by hearing from Krishna, from the Bhagavad Gita. I'll be reading for you verse 2 of chapter 6, where Krishna defines a sannyasi. So you might be surprised with the answer and how universally it may apply. So when we hear talk about a sannyasi these days, we normally have an image of somebody in orange robes, supposedly supposed to be a renunciant, but these days the sannyasis usually have a lot of bling and they have latest computers and telephones and they fly business class, so it's a bit of a weird thing. They've become like leaders within spiritual institutions, so they accumulate lots of power and respect, which is completely the opposite of what the sannyas was supposed to be. The sannyas described in other texts like Srimad Bhagavatam, they were actually complete renouncers. They would sometimes either just have a loincloth or not even that, and be completely renounced and just beg for food and not even have disciples. That's another interesting thing. Sannyasis didn't have disciples because they were just roaming around and they couldn't sleep in the same place for more than 3 days. They had different rules. They had lots of different ways of going about it. But basically it was like you have to be totally renounced and like give up the whole world. So that was like one style of sannyas you see in some other holy scriptures. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has a really interesting definition. So let's read the verse, the translation, and then we'll talk about how that sannyas definition applies to all of us. So Krishna says, Yam sannyāsam iti prāhur, yogaṁ tvam viddhi pāṇḍava, asaṁnyastasaṁkalpo, yogi bhavati kaśana. Translation. What is called sannyasa, the casting off of all selfish desire for the results of actions within matter, is exactly the same state as practiced in yoga. Without taking a vow to give up all attachment to the results of material actions within matter, one cannot be a yogi. So this translation is from the book, The Bhagavad Gita Comes Alive by Jeffrey Armstrong. So here we have a definition of sannyas, which applies to all of us, at least all of us who are trying to follow Bhagavad Gita like we are here in this channel. So now sannyas, Krishna is saying, look, sannyas means that you're giving up the results of actions, which is one of the major points of the Bhagavad Gita, and why in yoga, the first thing we do in yoga is we come to the here and now. In yoga, it's what I call in the 3T path is the reality paradigm. And the fantasy paradigm is when your mind is in the past and lamentation, your mind is in the future hankering after results. So a materialist, a karmi, by definition of Bhagavad Gita, he is acting today thinking, oh, then I'll get this result and then I'll be happy with that. I want to get this, I want to gain that, I want to achieve this status, and then I'll be happy. So that's what a karmi is, a materialist. That's what he's doing. He's like looking to the future and seeing what situation he wants to be in, what thing he wants to possess in the future. But the whole point of yoga is that we're renouncing that mentality. And instead, we're bringing your mind to the here and now, to their purpose, to the Dharma, and of course to bhakti, to our connection with Krishna, with our soul. That's the whole point of Bhagavad Gita. So a sannyas in this definition then, as Krishna says right here in this verse, is the same thing as being a yogi. You can't be a yogi without being a sannyas. So it turns out that all of us who are trying to practice Bhagavad Gita, trying to follow the path of yoga, we all have to be sannyasis. Not just old men in orange clothes, but all of us. Men, women, young, old, whoever you are, married, not married, rich or poor, we all have to be sannyas, because it's not about what you have, what you're taking care of. You might have a family and be a sannyas, according to this definition. You can be rich and be a sannyas, because as long as you're not hankering after the results of your actions, you're living in the here and now, you're following dharma, you're following your purpose, and you're doing that as an offering unto Krishna. That's the Bhagavad Gita. You're following dharma, doing the best of you in constant connection and awareness of your Atman, of your soul, in constant divine connection, in bhakti with Krishna. That is the definition of yoga, and such, therefore, is the definition of sannyas. So that's what a true sannyas is, actually, is a practitioner of yoga who is giving up the results of his activities and keeping his mind in the here and now. So let me know what you think of that. If you have any questions in that regard, please leave your comments below. I'll love to hear from you. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share, because it really helps a small channel like this. Thank you very much. Have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.